Welcome to Monday Motivation. Your story has power. I'm so glad you're here today because we're diving into something honest and tender and deeply needed. It's the power of your story and how sharing it can become a pathway to reclaim your life with healing and purpose. For years, many of us were taught to keep our struggles private, to be strong, quiet, and self contained. This is the way I was raised, in a house where we didn't talk about our struggles. We just moved forward. But the truth is, your story, your real story, can change lives, including your own. If we haven't met before, my name is Terry Stirk. I am a wellness coach and author. I serve women like you who have experienced challenging seasons. So let's talk about the power of your story as a form of healing. Let's just say it plainly. Your story isn't just a diary, a chronological diary of what's happened to you or all you've been through. It's something that can bring meaning and strength and connection to others and also become a pathway to reclaim your own life with healing and purpose. It can help you feel empowered and confident in your ability to influence your own healing journey. So we're not talking about polished storytelling. We're talking about truth, being true to yourself, about your lived experience, about the challenging chapters that have shaped you into the person you are today. When you speak your story aloud, someone else feels less alone. Someone sees hope in their own story. And quietly and gently, you heal a little more too. I know this because I've been meeting with you for about 2 years now, and I know how much better I am today than I was then. Healing doesn't happen in silence. It happens when we stop hiding the very things that shaped us. So little by little, I've been opening up about my own story, and today I'd like to tell you more. My life is a bunch of layers. Over the past 22 years, my life has felt like a collage of losses and turning points, one layered on top of another. And for a long time, I didn't see the pattern that I see today. I didn't see how they all fit together. All I felt was the weight and agony of the trauma I have been through. It all began in 2003. When I turned 40 that year, I was diagnosed with breast cancer for the first time. My children were still very young, just 7 and 10. I was still very young. And suddenly, life felt more fragile than I ever expected. Then, in 2006, we lost my brother-in-law when he took his own life. He was an alcoholic and had struggled for years and years. He was 40 years old, too young to die. In 2011, my mother passed away unexpectedly after a short illness. And in that same year, after 20 years in my career with one company, I was displaced from my job. That too was unexpected. Then came my second breast cancer diagnosis in 2013. My children were 17 and 20. The second diagnosis was more challenging for them as they were now old enough to understand what had happened 20 years prior. We made it through. In 2015, my father died after a long decline and a heartbreaking ALS diagnosis. I watched him lose mobility and dementia continued to grow. It was a difficult end to his life. All these losses stacked on losses: friendships, jobs, family ties. Some connections never healed. Some wounds are still wide open today. In 2016, I lost a dear friend to metastatic breast cancer. I've talked about Lauren previously. She was in my direct circle, and so losing her was quite a loss. In 2017, my mother-in-law passed away after a long illness. So now I had lost my father, my mother, and my mother-in-law. There was another job loss too, and family estrangement that persists today. My second diagnosis of cancer came in there too. You see, there's so much that happened. I didn't even mention the second diagnosis, or did I? Yeah, I did. It was in 2013. It was 10 years after the first one. So the family estrangement persists to current day. That's mostly with my siblings. When our parents were gone, the glue that held us together was also gone. I've experienced a lot of spiritual battles as well, including a painful conflict at our church in 2020. That's where we raised our children. That ultimately led to my husband and me leaving that church and finding a healthier spiritual home, which is much better. We're much happier now. So each of these events has left a mark on me. Each loss asks the same question: what now? Who am I? I started to lose my identity. I knew I was a mother. I was a wife. I'm now a grandmother, and I'm still a mother and a wife. So those things are constants. But the chronic stress, the emotional strain, and the unhealed pain, it all built up. Some of it I just shoved under the rug, as I was taught as a child. It didn't matter how strong I wanted to be. My heart kept telling me, you're not done healing yet. Healing became a lifelong process. I've spent the better part of 20 years healing from a lot of these things. It's like peeling an onion, one layer at a time, slowly and patiently. Some seasons moved quickly. Others felt painfully slow. Sometimes I rushed the healing. I pushed too hard, like the time I threw myself back into life too soon after one of my cancer surgeries. And I ended up injuring my knee after a fall on the stairs. That set back my healing 3 more weeks and forced me to face how much I needed to slow down and take time to heal and not worry about others' expectations of me getting back into life, whether that was work or my own family. Healing can't be hurried. It is seasonal. You can look at your own life and see all the circumstances that made you who you are today. And when all these traumas start to stack on top of each other, it's difficult to know when to just slow down, to take time to heal. Thriving doesn't mean you never go backward either. I've fell backward many times. It simply means you keep moving one moment at a time. I've learned this over time, but just recently I was triggered very deeply by a story. But instead of shutting down or being discouraged, I let myself feel the emotion. I sat with it. And then over the course of a day or two, I was able to return to forward motion of healing. That's what thriving looks like. It's not perfection, but it is persistence. It's being real with our feelings and not trying to ignore them. And through all of it, one truth so slowly surfaced. My story wasn't meant to end with me. It was meant to be used to help others like you, to bring comfort and inspiration, to offer hope. That's when I started writing books. I have 3 now. Thrive After Breast Cancer, Nurture Emotional Well-Being for Women, and my newest one, Devotional for Women, 90 Days of Encouragement. Each of these books carry pieces of my story. They're reminders that healing and meaning can grow even from the hardest, darkest places. Today, I believe my purpose is simple. Use my story and all the lessons I've learned to help other women find their way. So that's what I do. That's why I do these videos, to teach you things I've learned along the way. And if you're listening today, wondering what your purpose is, well, you might just find in the very chapter of your life that you've been trying to forget. That's where the true healing begins, is by digging deep. It means being vulnerable and maybe triggering yourself to think about things that you had tried to forget. Let's talk about why this is healing. Because it's true. Being honest with ourselves and telling ourselves our own story or telling others is definitely healing. Many of us don't realize this because sharing your story can be very scary. Sometimes it's even difficult to admit things to ourselves, but it's a decisive step toward healing and growth. So let's talk about how to overcome those fears. Telling your story doesn't just help others, it heals you. I'm a testament to that. Here's why. It breaks the silence that trauma often brings. When you speak your truth, shame loses its grip. It also helps you make meaning out of what you have endured and maybe you didn't understand previously. But now you can find meaning and understanding. You start to connect the dots between all this pain and your growth. That's why I sat down and chronologically studied my own life, because I could see how one thing helped another thing heal, how things started to fit together like a puzzle. Telling your story also helps you reclaim your voice if you've lost it. Trauma can steal your sense of safety when you feel you've lost control over your own life. Your story gives your voice back to you. Telling your story helps you ground your identity. It helps you understand who you are at your core. You're not who trauma tried to make you. You are who you became despite of it. Telling your story helps create connection and community with other people, your family, your friends, strangers, other women who are listening to you. Every time you tell your story, even a small part of it, you reinforce this truth. I am still here, and this chapter didn't break me. That's my truth. Maybe it's yours too. So, how to begin telling your story? You don't need to write a book unless you want to, but you don't have to. You don't need to do posts on social media. You don't have to share it with the world. If it's more comfortable, start small. Share a brief, honest moment with a friend or with yourself in your journal. That's where I started. I have many journals just filled with my feelings and my circumstances, the people, the dates, all of it. That was my first step to heal. Or join a support group. Seek assistance from a coach or a therapist if you need to dig deep into a problem. These are all the tools I used to begin telling my story. Slowly, my heart started to heal, and I'm able to talk about all of it now. So just start small. Here are some ways to begin. Tell one safe person one honest thing. Not your whole story, just one sentence of truth. Journal the part you've been avoiding. Let the page hold it before you tell anyone else. I refer to this as a brain dump. If I'm feeling very anxious, if I just dump everything else, everything I'm concerned about onto a piece of paper, then I get it out of my brain and it's onto the paper. Then I can deal with it later. Or never. Also, you can share something you learned, not just something you endured. That's what I try to do. Here's what happened to me, and here's what I learned about it. It anchors your story in purpose, not pain. Speak from scars, not from wounds. You don't have to share until you're really ready. But I've often talked about using your pain to find your passion. That's what I mean about speaking from your scars. Use what happened to you to help you find your purpose. Share to connect, but never just to prove. Your story isn't a performance, it's a gift. It's turning a negative into a positive. And remember, you control your story. Your story does not control you, or it shouldn't. I want to leave you with a question, one that can open a new door to your own healing. What part of your story has shaped who you are today? Not the prettiest part, not the part you've perfected, the part that formed you. Someone out there needs the wisdom you earned the hard way. Maybe you need it if you haven't been truthful with yourself. So thank you for spending this time with me today. I did create a reflection sheet to help you begin to find power in your story. I'll leave the link at the end of this video. That way you have it if you want to print it out and just start answering the questions to reflect. If this conversation encouraged you, and I hope it did, I hope you'll subscribe to my free YouTube channel. Your subscription helps me expand my reach and provide free services to other women. Share this video with another friend, sister, sister-in-law, whoever could use a reminder that her story matters. Your story can bring meaning, strength, and connection to others and become a pathway to reclaim your own life with healing and purpose. I believe in your story because I know it can help heal you. And I believe in you. I've enjoyed being here with you today. As always, I'm cheering you on.